This is a 2,100-year-old block of metal. It was salvaged from an ancient Greek shipwreck, a wreck lying at the bottom of the Aegean Sea. And when scientists looked inside it with X-rays, they found something that seemed to be from another time. Not gold, not precious stones, but gears. Dozens of bronze gears, precisely cut, interlocking. It contained a complex mechanical system, a level of precision technology that, according to our timeline, should have disappeared and only reappeared over 1,000 years later. This was not an ornament. It was not a toy. It was a computer. A 2,100-year-old analog computer built to predict the movements of the universe. This entire complex machine was housed in a wooden box, no bigger than a shoebox. So what problem did it solve? It solved the biggest problem of the night sky: retrograde motion. The Greeks believed the universe was a cosmos, a perfect, divine order. The fixed stars moved as one unified block. The sun rose and set with regularity. The moon waxed and waned in a reliable cycle. Everything was perfect, except for 5 points of light. 5 wanderers, or planets in Greek: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. They moved chaotically. They would travel forward, then suddenly they would appear to stop and move backward in Thesky. This is called retrograde motion. For a civilization that believed in an ordered universe, this wasn't just an astronomical puzzle. It was a philosophical crisis. It was a flaw in the cosmic order, proof that chaos reigned. The Babylonians before them had simply recorded the data. They knew when it happened, but not why. The Greeks were different. They needed a mechanical model. They believed the universe was a great machine, and they could understand it. When scientists reconstructed it, they realized it was a miniature universe. The front face showed the position of the sun, the moon, and the latest research, published in 2021, has reconstructed a brilliant gear system believed to model all 5 planets. By using an epicyclic gear system, essentially small gears rotating inside larger gears, it perfectly simulated that backward motion. It was a mechanical model, seemingly based on the theories of Apollonius of Perga. This machine turned apparent chaos into predictable mechanical order. But the universe wasn't just about planets. It was also about time. And the upper dial on the back solved a nightmare of ancient society: the chaos of the calendar. The problem was this: the Greeks used a lunar calendar based on the 29.5-day cycles of the moon. But crops and the seasons follow the solar calendar, the 365 days of the sun. The two don't match up. Very quickly, your calendar might say it's summer, but outside it's snowing. And worse. Every city-state, Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Rhodes, all had their own local calendars, with different month names and different start dates for the year. Imagine trying to negotiate a trade contract, or a military alliance, or even schedule a common religious festival when nobody even agreed on what day it was. It was chaos. This machine solved it. It mechanized the metonic cycle. A brilliant calculation, discovering that 19 solar years is almost exactly equal to 235 lunar months. The upper dial was a beautiful 5-turn spiral with 235 cells. You turned the crank, and a pointer would show you which month you were in of that 19-year cycle, and most importantly, when to add an extra intercalary month to keep everything in sync. It was a mechanical solution to a massive social problem. And if the upper dial synchronized society, the lower dial controlled power. It was a Saros dial. The Babylonians, through meticulous centuries of observation, had discovered that solar and lunar eclipses seemed to repeat in a cycle of 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours. The Greeks mechanized it. The main gear for this dial has exactly 223 teeth for the 223 months in the Saros cycle. Now, stop and think about what that means in the ancient world. An eclipse was not an interesting scientific event. It was a terrifying omen. It was the end of the world. The sun, the source of all life, being devoured by a shadow. Screams in the streets. Panic. It was a sign the gods were angry. Kings could be overthrown. Wars could be started or stopped. Herodotus tells of a battle that stopped instantly because of an eclipse. And you. You possess a small bronze machine. You turn the crank, and you know exactly when, down to the hour, the sun will vanish. For a king or a general, this is the ultimate tool. It turns mass panic into a leader's control. Inscriptions found by the CT scanners seem to reveal another astonishing detail. Scientists believe tiny glyphs next to the eclipse dates predicted their color. Red, black, fire-colored. Why does this matter? Because for the Greeks, this was an oracle. A red eclipse meant war. A black eclipse meant famine. The machine didn't interpret the omen. The machine provided the data. Humans interpreted the power. And as if all that weren't enough, scientists found a smaller subsidiary dial. It didn't track the planets. It tracked a 4-year cycle. And the inscriptions beside it list the names of the Panhellenic Games: Nemea, Pythia, Isthmia, and most importantly, Olympia. This machine told you exactly when the Olympic Games were going to happen. This is the detail that humanizes the machine. It proves it wasn't some secret object in a temple. This proves it was a personal tool intended for a wealthy nobleman, a merchant, or a politician. Such a powerful machine. So how did it end up at the bottom of the sea, and why did we almost miss it entirely? The answer is by sheer chance. It was found in 1900. Sponge divers, sheltering from a storm, screamed about a field of corpses. They were statues from a Roman shipwreck. Amidst the rubble, they hauled up a useless, corroded green lump. When an archaeologist, Valerio Stice, noticed a gear inside and reported it in 1902, he was mocked. The academic establishment declared that Greeks were only philosophers, not mechanics. His finding was dismissed. The machine was forgotten in the basement of the museum. It lay there for 50 years, until Derek de Solla Price, a historian of science at Yale, who studied ancient scientific instruments, visited the museum. He was not a classical archaeologist. He was a historian of technology. He actively sought out the forgotten notes about the strange lump with gears that the classicists had dismissed. He asked to see it. He immediately recognized what it was. He became obsessed. He used X-ray technology and found the undeniable mathematical proof. Gears with 235 and 223 teeth, the exact numbers of the Metonic and Saros cycles. Decades later, the 8-ton Blade Runner CT scanner finished the job. It wasn't needed because the machine was big, but because it was so dense. It needed an incredibly powerful X-ray source to see through the corroded bronze and the limestone that had hardened like rock. And it found thousands of hidden characters. A user's manual, inscribed directly on the bronze, revealing the machine's full genius. The question is no longer what is it? The final question is who built it? All clues point to the island of Rhodes, a center of knowledge for astronomy and engineering at the time. It was the home of the great astronomer Hipparchus. Hipparchus was the one who developed the theory of the moon's irregular orbit. The Antikythera Mechanism seems to have mechanized his exact theory. And it was the home of the philosopher Posidonios. The great Roman orator Cicero, writing in the 1st century BC, described seeing with his own eyes a mechanical sphere built by Posidonios, which accurately modeled the universe. And Cicero mentions an even greater machine, built by the immortal genius, Archimedes. For centuries, historians thought this was just a tall tale, a literary exaggeration. The Antikythera Mechanism is the physical proof that those stories were not just myths. And that leads to the final question. Why did this technology vanish? Why, after this ship sank, did this entire body of knowledge evaporate from human history? The answer probably isn't a single catastrophe, like the burning of the Library of Alexandria. More likely, the answer lies in the nature of the machine itself. This was a luxury object, incredibly complex, handcrafted by a tiny number of masters. It was not a mass-produced technology. The knowledge to build it was likely a closely guarded secret, passed from master to apprentice. It would only take a few workshops to close, or a few masters to die without passing on the knowledge, for it to be lost entirely. When society collapsed and the world descended into chaos, the economic and social stability needed to create such luxuries disappeared. The Antikythera Mechanism is a cold reminder that knowledge is not guaranteed. It can be erased, and it can take humanity thousands of years. just to reinvent what was once already in our grasp. Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below.